So, hi everyone, and welcome to again a industry standard webinar by Frameworks, which we conduct regularly. Today, our session is about framing the unreal, crafting cinematic realities in virtual production. It's a very interesting topic, and it's a trending topic. So I request all the students, audiences to subscribe Framebox channel so you don't miss this kind of industry standard webinars which we conduct regularly with the industry professionals and veterans. And also put the notification on so you get the notification regularly and you don't miss about any updates. So coming back to our today's webinar, we have industry standard dignitaries and respective speakers out here, and there are two speakers who have good experience with Unreal to virtual production. And let me introduce you Gautami Vegiraju, who is a director of photography, who is a DOP, and have extensive experience with photography in terms of ads, commercials, films, music videos, and stuff like that. And she's also handling the virtual production part with cinematography, which is a very trending topic at the moment, and it's evolving in the industry of filmmaking. And our second guest is Mr. Sanat Pratap Singh, who is a founder of Mach Visuals, and he's a short film award-winning short film maker. He runs a virtual production studio which is called the Mach Way. So I will put them across you, and you can be sure about getting great knowledge and being getting entertained with virtual production and Unreal topics for today. So enjoy this session. So I welcome to our guest, that is Gautami and Sanat Pratap Singh. Over to you guys.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. And today the topic is framing the Unreal. So it's more about how Unreal Engine is kind of transforming the landscape of filmmaking and also other industries. So I'm Gautami, and I've already been introduced as a DOP. So I'm also a member of the Visual Effects Society, as well as the Society of Game Cinematics. So basically, as a cinematographer today, I work across genres and across industries simply because I had the uh, I had the good what do you say fortune to learn Unreal, and now I also want to ask Sanat. Sanat, to just introduce him, he's a very young 23-year-old entrepreneur who kind of just dived into virtual production. So, Sanat, tell me a little bit about your journey and why did you choose virtual production of everything?
All right. Firstly, thank you so much, ma'am, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. And thank you, Prembox, for this opportunity to interact with such a great audience. To start off, I've always enjoyed the realm of media and production. Even though my college was an entire co-finance because I come from a family business, but throughout my college, I was always in the world of trying to make stuff, let it be content or any sort of visual creation, learning skills and everything. But sooner or later, after college, I used to work in a media production house. I learned my skills, even refined them further. And somewhere down the line, media is one of the most evolving markets. It's also a very quick market. Every couple of years, there are changes happening around the globe. I remember visiting the IBC conference in Amsterdam in 2023. And over there was the first time I kind of, read about what the power of virtual production could hold, like, especially in an indie setup. And that's where the entrepreneur in me was like, let's go deep dive in and make a mark for ourselves. And we formed the company called Mach Visuals. Mach means speed, and we want to deliver visuals at the speed of Mach. So welcome to our company. Yeah.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much. So, without further ado, let's dive into the content that we want to share today. So, I'm going to be presenting my screen right now. Yeah, guy, is my screen visible? Yeah. Okay, I hope my screen is visible here. So basically, today's topic, framing the unreal. So before getting into virtual production, what I would really like to say is to talk about Unreal Engine a bit more, and also wanted to kind of make you guys aware that Unreal Engine is just not used in media and entertainment. It is used across industries, and though this is the engine that kind of powers virtual production at every phase of virtual production, I just wanted to share a few industries where learning Unreal can completely open doors for you in terms of job opportunities, career opportunities, career growth, because this is like the fastest growing what you say skill set right now in the industry, especially media and entertainment. So let's go and see which industries do we have here. So as you see, some of the different industries that you see over here, of course, and architecture and fashion and all, but and advertising. But if you see, Unreal Engine can actually be used in a variety of industries in various different ways. Let's say, I work more or less in the gaming industry, the film and TV virtual production industry, the advertising industry, and more than that, if you see the fashion and luxury, like nowadays we have computers with amazing content from musicians and all these kind of big fashion houses like Balenciaga and stuff like that. So other than these industries, there are a few more. Today, like social media and content creation with Unreal Engine is like big. Like all the VTubers or like the digital influencers, somewhere or the other, you will find Unreal in there, that way. And if you see, even in like the space industry, Unreal Engine is literally used to kind of simulate environments. For example, NASA is using Unreal Engine to create an entire Mars environment for the 2030 Mars mission, where they want to put people on Mars. So that's the reach of Unreal. Other than that, there are a couple of other industries maybe you would not have like even imagined it. For example, if you see government, like you wouldn't imagine government using something like Unreal, but in fact, a lot of governments across the world are very, very closely working with Epic Games to use Unreal Engine. So basically, the few industries that I have worked in right now, those are the ones. Sanat, why don't you tell me about a little bit about the industries that you're working in?
All right. So I'll give you a gist of the industries we kind of target onto. Number one, I think we all live in a world where the aspect ratio has changed for any sort of visual content. So we cater down to a lot of needs of content creators, I would say, because nowadays it's earlier before I would say, let's take example of Instagram, where earlier the content was simple. Take your phone, you could shoot it on a vertical mount and get through it. But now, since the lot of people use it, they kind of do want a visual quality, and everything in the world of social media also happens very fast. And I personally believe that what Unreal Engine does is that gives you that faster level of output as a quick render. So you're doing everything live and your content comes out live as well. Recently, couple of days back, we were shooting in our studio and we wrapped up around 14 to 15 virtual backdrops in one day, which could be used for any sort of a content creation purpose. And these visual backdrops kind of narrate a good storyline in depth to any sort of a brand or a creator. That's one industry that is definitely evolving, and I feel Unreal will have an impact on it. Going ahead, you have architecture visualization, where any sort of an architect could come in and have certain requirements which can be catered down to. And a lot of people, if it's the first time, probably they are learning the world of VFX, filmmaking, or they come from different sorts of backdrop. One thing that we have noticed is that even if an engineer is coming on board and has worked somewhere in a, for example, a manufacturing unit before, there is Unreal in that domain as well, which is something called digital twin, where you're kind of replicating your entire factory's workflow in Unreal. So I personally feel that in every sort and corner of workflow, Unreal is being adapted. And I feel more than ever, it is the right time to be an Unreal Engine expert, I would say, because it is one tool which has so many possibilities and it's just a great tool to have. Going ahead, there are other things that could be utilized for podcasts, for live events, for showcases, product launches. The list goes on and on. It's all about finding the niche that you would want to target and working towards it. Yeah.
Completely. Like, so basically, like, just like the other day, I was just randomly, browsing through LinkedIn, and to my surprise, that companies like sanitary wear companies like Kohler and all these kind of guys are like looking for Unreal generalists. Like, these
Mm.
automobile companies, I saw like some, I think Ford advertised for it. Then I saw an architectural firm advertised for it. So Unreal basically is going, it's beyond just entertainment and media industry. It is now kind of omnipresent in most industries that we kind of know about. And of course there are so many more that we don't know about, but as you guys like progress in your journey, you might find Unreal in the most unlikely places doing the most amazing things. So
Yeah, it's like,
so let's
yes.
yeah, please
So,
continue. Yeah.
yeah, I think I absolutely agree with you, ma'am, that you rightly mentioned that Unreal is basically becoming like a union point now, where a lot of things could be integrated and a common output could be driven rather than going to multiple different softwares. So I think it's emerging out as a very effective and efficient way of any sort of visual production going ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen again. Now let's talk about Unreal and virtual production. So basically, what is virtual production? Okay, let's share screen again. Yeah, so basically, what exactly is virtual production pertaining to the media and entertainment industry, which is the industry that we are in? So Netflix basically, kind of defines Unreal, like Netflix being one of the pioneers of virtual production. Netflix defines Unreal as, virtual production as an umbrella term for techniques that allow filmmakers the ability to interact with digital process as a means towards creative problem solving. So now, what does this mean basically? Now we know that there are a lot of virtual production is just not like your LED screens or your like what do you say, digital twins or everything like that. There are a vast what do you say, types of virtual production. So this is an umbrella term which kind of includes different types of virtual production, and we could just see a few types going forward. So these are the different types. Okay, the first is like the fully virtual production, which is like animation, video games, and nowadays AI filmmaking, your virtual influencers, digital twins, your what do you say, other kind of things which are like there's no human component or there's no live component in these content pieces. They're completely virtual. There is no nothing live that you would see. That's one type. Second is they're partially virtual. So like things like simulcam, performance capture, augmented reality. So basically this is partial virtual production is what films like Avatar use, like utilize. Then then is like the one that we all are aware of, like much more, is in camera visual effects or ICVFX. Now this is basically where you have like a virtual backdrop on an LED screen or a chroma backdrop, or even like projectors projecting the backdrop on a big huge white screen, so that like really like it looks very photorealistic. And then you have these actors and props and everything else, like a physical set in front of this screen. And then through the camera we kind of shoot it in a way it kind of just looks as if it's real. And the fourth kind is volumetrics. Nowadays if you see holography, that's like 3D what do you say, avatars of people who are like photo scanned, and they're being used in all sorts of communication nowadays. So I would really like to kind of ask each one of you to quickly type in the different kind of examples that you can think about all these virtual productions. I would love to see what you guys come up with. Yeah, are we I hope we're typing. I'd love to see some yeah, I would love to see some comments and like some examples coming up about all these different type of virtual production things. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Nice, nice. Okay, great. So I would actually ask Sanat right now. So Sanat, basically, I'm sharing my screen again. So basically, now what I want to kind of share with you guys is a process by which virtual production is usually done, and this is the process for ICVFX specifically. So let's get on with it. So, Sanat, basically, what I wanted to ask you is, okay, I am just a second. Yeah. So, once now that we've seen the process of ICVFX, and basically you're also into ICVFX, would you like to, explain in detail exactly all these various steps that we've just seen?
Yeah, certainly. So I think every one of us over here who's part of the meeting, in a way, is related to a very creative form of workflow or has some kind of a creative input. Now, let's just take an idea, and let's put it in a world that we could imagine. Now, the point is that when you have an idea and you have a visual of where what you want to make it, let's make a breakdown of it, what your exact idea is. You write about, okay, I want to make a mountain, I want a person, on top of a hilltop. Probably there's a tent and it's probably daytime, I would say. Now, to make that world, you have to plan accordingly. For you to actually physically go and shoot, it's very difficult. You have to go on top of a mountain, get yourself a gear, check the weather if it's working out for you, get the props in, get everything in, and then head to a probably on a mountain top, and then get it might take you so much time. But if we convert that entire process happening under one single roof, that is where I find the ICVFX workflow coming in really handy, where you don't have to go to locations to shoot. So you decide to create a simple pre-production plan where you decide, okay, what is the kind of world I want to build? Then you sit on Unreal and you get onto the world building part of it. You could make a mountaintop, you could add tents, you could solve everything that you would want. And then once you're done with that, you could block the shots using the system software of Unreal. Post that, the shoot day comes in. Now, to replicate exactly what all you have planned in the world, you would need a proper camera, a proper, just simple as a chroma setup, and then get things going. Rather than going on to the technical part of it, I would just like to sum up everything that if you have an idea, create that idea in Unreal, Make sure you have a camera with you. Set that up according to a camera frame. Get things going, get the shot done, get your renders done, and you are halfway through. I would definitely want to go in much more deep, but ma'am, I still feel that it's a huge market, virtual production, and a lot of steps involved. In the following part of this lecture, not the lecture, the session, I would go ahead and explain them what individual contribution of each field is like. Yeah. Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute.
You have
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah. So basically, now that so now what I would like to say is probably discuss a little bit more about Unreal Engine in different stages of production, which is
Hmm.
pre-production, production, and post-production. And
Yeah.
and Sanat, feel free to jump in and explain a little more whenever you kind of want to explain a little bit more about the process that you use in this
Yeah.
entire process. And probably after that, maybe you could take over and kind of elaborate much more about the process of virtual production. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm sharing. Okay, here is my. Uh, okay, sorry, my bad. Huh. So basically, how is Unreal used in virtual production? Now, Unreal basically, majorly the role of Unreal is to create real-time rendering, photorealistic environments, and and do a lot of things that kind of give your backdrops this entire thing of like even if you're not on location, it's basically there. And also to merge the live action and digital elements in probably icvfx, but even in the animation or games or even like architecture. The reason why we use Unreal more than any other gaming engine is because it gives us that really photorealistic appeal, their aesthetic. Like sometimes you really can't tell if it's actually shot live or it's like done in Unreal. So let's go a little bit deeper into how Unreal is used in virtual production. So if you see over here, I've broken down the major areas where Unreal is kind of used in pre-production. So if you could like just say, like when we go on set, like suppose there's a project and we are like kind of figuring out, okay, what do we want to do, how do we want to shoot, what is the what are the locations on the agenda of the script and stuff like that. So what we usually do is we either send teams, like teams from the director side or the production houses side, to go and get a lot of references of real locations, and then we make digital twins of those locations in Unreal Engine. And then like the creative team, like the director, dop, production designer, producer, all of us kind of jump into Unreal using VR and headsets, and we actually do location scouting just the way we would do it in real life. But we don't have to like go there. Like there's an example where you have a Himalayan village set, like let's say we want the Himalayan village to kind of like always be like sunny with a little bit of snow. Now
Hmm.
we actually send a team there at that point of time, like let's say summertime, and they get all the references. And maybe we're shooting, let's say if I had this story is like in summertime in April in the Himalayas, but my production schedule is like in what do you say, in December. I really wouldn't be able to go to a Himalayan village there because there'll be too many logistic issues. So what happens is that when we recreate all our environments in Unreal, we have the flexibility to kind of basically explore the creative process of the film or the content that we're creating at leisure, like having a digital twin where we can like completely go and like as if we are already in that location, is very helpful in the process of creating content. The second part is about pre-visualization. I think everybody knows about. It's like when we kind of make the plan the film before the film happens. So like, you know every nitty gritty about what's happening. Then TechWiz is basically when you get in all the the equipment and all that stuff, and then put the digital doubles of those equipments into Unreal, and kind of actually like see if things are working, not working, what looks good, doesn't look good. Basically, now you kind of completely create the plan of what you're going to execute. So all your planning, creativity, everything is done, and then you just go execute on the shoot day. And of course, look development, like when we are kind of like in pre-production, how is it going to look, what are we going to do, what colors are we going to use, what is the what are the actors going to wear, like what is the color of the prop, all that sort of thing kind of comes in there. So Narant, you
Yeah.
also like, let us know how you kind of use Unreal in the pre-production stage.
Certainly, ma'am. Ma'am, as you mentioned in this PPT as well, the approach is very similar. As you mentioned, virtual location scouting. That's something it's very helpful. Coming to the fact with Previs, I think with Previs, it's become such a powerful space, I believe. A lot of times now, we're able to integrate motion capture in the world of pre-visualization. So how the exact movements of a character, if you have a very stylized movement or any sort of a movement that requires a particular kind of a reference point, now you could actually use motion capture. And there are even tools online. Earlier, it was not easy to
Correct.
access motion capture tools, but now using motion capture tools, you could actually create a proper previs with exact movements of your head, your body, and have a output which you're going to incorporate on the final day of shoot. This gives the entire production team an idea of how each shot's going to build up like. An editor would have a reference of, okay, what is going to come down to my table? And then importantly, after this, we jump on TechViz. I feel for any VFX supervisor, anyone who's in this realm, TechViz is definitely a big step ahead.
Yes.
It solves so many problems. If the lensing is right, if the shot blocking is right, if the exact framing between your virtual and the physical character, the FG is working or not working, all these steps are done in the pre-production stage. It answers a lot of queries. It solves all the
Absolutely.
interdepartmental communication. It becomes very easy and seamless. Often our team and I, we sit and we're like, before every shoot on, I think just a day before the shoot, we are kind of very relaxed and sorted because this portion of pre-production being done beforehand makes it easier for us to execute on the day of the shoot.
Yeah,
And obviously, look
absolutely.
development to play, you have a visual eyeball of what world you are creating, and it helps you with the lighting, planning the physical lighting. Imagine if you have decided on making a house, for example, with teal and oranges, then your DOP also knows the world building it has been done, and you can play around with it, fine tune things, and get things going.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is basically where Unreal kind of just like, makes everything real for us. In the sense that what happens is that right now we don't have anything, like actually shooting. So this is all like imagination. So what happens
Yes,
is that by using Unreal, we kind of, put everything, make it concrete, like, make it visible. Like, whatever
yes,
is kind of like, in our vision, like the director's vision, this using Unreal, we basically kind of get everything the way the director is looking at, like, so that we don't make any expensive mistakes on shoot
yeah,
days, so Unreal kind of just makes our life easier that way. Now let's go to
yeah,
the production stage. Yeah.
yes,
Okay. So now production stage, we see that the different kind of functions that happen. So suppose we're shooting an LED on an LED volume or an ICVFX setup, which is either chroma or projection or anything like that. So obviously the most important thing is Unreal rendering in real time, playing the virtual environments on the the backdrop in such a way that we could just like make any changes to the environment at any point of time in real time, according to how the shoot is shaping up. Then of course in suppose like the shot is like we're shooting virtual and we're like in a war, like in a war situation or something, and like we want the actors to react to something, so that's when we kind of like have these CG elements come onto the backdrop and stuff like that, so the actors also kind of get real time feedback, and they also have like very realistic actions and all, as opposed to like just like doing something on chroma and trying to imagine and stuff like that. So like simulcam is definitely very important in like uh, series like Game of Thrones, where you have like dragons and like things like Avatar, which is like all imagination and stuff like that. Then, of course, the most important thing here is camera tracking and parallax. Uh, and that is what Unreal Engine basically gives us. It kind of gives us, like, if you have a 2D plate, you can't, like, the plate is not going to kind of, like, give you a realistic movement along with the camera. But what Unreal Engine does is that because it's a 3D game engine, it kind of gives us along with the camera tracking, it gives us the illusion of everything is real. So that's very, very important. And that's like the crux of Unreal being on the backdrop, the virtual backdrop, running the virtual backdrop, as well as, coordinating with the camera, how the backdrop is moving along with the camera. So that's very important. Then, of course, lighting, like, it's basically like you can change light, you can change the time of day, you can change color tones, you can change a lot of things the way, and get it the way you want to look, almost final, like 90% final. Not possible on traditional filmmaking shoots, which is why virtual production is kind of just picking up everything. And of course, performance capture streaming, like, if you want to kind of um, have our games and everything like that. So performance captures pretty much, like, run through Unreal in games and animation films that use Unreal and things like that. Yeah, Sanat, over to you.
Yeah, I think in the production stage as well, with all the points mentioned, we operate with simulcam, and it kind of helps us. I would say more than us, the director or the visualization team, to know what the final output
Hmm.
is going to look like. Traditionally, when
Correct.
we would shoot on a chroma setup, you would not see the actual live output. But I think virtual production does empower us to see the output live, and that kind of gives your director a vision of, okay, what's happening. It allows your DOP as well as the other teammates to know what's the next shot going to be like, how the entire mood and setup is. And yes, camera tracking is, I think, one of the biggest benefits over here. To everyone who's new to the world of virtual production, to just tell you in simple what camera tracking is. Imagine a regular camera, pan, tilt, movement, whatever you're doing. So you have to give the data of whatever the camera's movement is to Unreal. So basically, camera tracker does that work where it gives your physical camera movement, everything that's happening, that to Unreal Engine. That is basically what camera tracking does. And after that, yes, lighting control and performance capture, these are the way ahead. In lighting control as well, there are a lot of optimized solutions coming in. There has been evolution with DMX lighting, where you could have multiple sources of lights happening at the same time, and then you have integration in Unreal. So all of these things have been very evolving, I would say, and each of it has a very extensive use case. And if in the right hands, I feel you could do justice, and your entire post production load could be reduced to minimal margins. I feel that's how it could impact the entire production stage.
Absolutely, because right now, for example, in lighting control, so we've got this really great tool called Cyber Gaffer. Now, what Cyber Gaffer does is that if you have DMX controllable lights, it matches in real time. It matches the changes made in Unreal to the physical lights. So that's something amazing. Like, that's something that one would not be able to do in traditional production. So basically, what Unreal does is that in the process of virtual production, it kind of just makes everything convenient, easy to use, and also reduces a lot of cost for the production, which can then be kind of put into production value, like, actors and props and all that stuff. Let's go to the third phase, which is post production. So here it's very simple. As I said, final pixel capture. So capturing the final shots in camera, reducing post workflow. So basically now, if, like, it's basically the way I would capture on real set. Like, if I was having some person walking through a corridor, then I could do exactly the same thing on a ICVX stage with any of the three methods. And I wouldn't have to, like, do compositing and, like, all the other things that happen in post production, like roto and this and that. So it kind of just saves a lot of time and resources on that. Then set extensions. So for example, like, if I kind of have just one person or two people in a frame and it's very cramped, I can always go into, like, Unreal Engine can actually render out digital twins of the location, which will be prepared before in pre-production, and actually expand the entire shot. So, like, if I have space for, like, just say, like, a full shot, I can actually, in post, go in, like, just take my live camera footage and put it in Unreal and actually extend the shot and make it like really like a wide shot or something like that. Then, of course, real-time compositing is the one of the biggest benefits, because if you have real-time compositing data, then a lot of the post-production workload kind of reduces. We work faster and stuff like that. Yeah, Sanat, how do you use Unreal in
Yeah,
your
I feel
post-production?
I think somewhere between the line between a production and post production, while you're shooting, suddenly you have an idea. You're like, oh, perhaps could we just tweak this, or could we change the environment a bit, or could we add or remove stuff? So while you're shooting, you also have the flexibility to decide what you want and how you want to play with, add stuff, remove stuff, tweak stuff, as well as in your post production stage. Also, you have that ability to tweak things. So I feel that in both the stages, the flexibility is something that is very efficient with Unreal Engine. And I feel in this workflow, if your vision is sorted, then you would accomplish it at, I think, because you can see the output live. Perhaps if you want to make any sort of a change, it's also possible. So you're not stuck in a traditional pipeline where if something is being done, it can't be redone or can't be undone. And with all the examples you've given above, man, I certainly feel that the post production becomes an easier process. As a production team, you're giving your post production agents your house, the backdrops, you're giving them the BG, you have the camera tracking with you, you're giving the FG data. And with live comp, you also have a reference cut that goes to them. It kind of solves a lot of problems and a lot of back and forths. Even in the way we operate, we have realized that once the shoot is done, I think within a span of couple of days, the entire post production is set and it happens in a smooth and easy breeze. Yeah, man, I think these are the points that I would like to reflect.
Absolutely. So, Sanat, what I would invite you to do right now is, why don't you kind of just take them on a virtual tour of your studio?
Yeah, ma'am. I'll just draw in one. I'll start with the presentation, ma'am, and then I'll probably
Oh,
jump
yeah,
onto
of
the work.
course. Yes, yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I will just share my screen. Okay. Okay. Is my slide visible to everyone? Is my slide visible?
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
So, okay, now I would like to think that everyone over here is probably not in the world of filmmaking, but more in the world of being part of a creative process. Just to sum up, the traditional and the most prominent way of shooting a film is you have your ideation, you have your pre-production, your production, post-production, and your final distribution. So you have an idea, you want to make something on top of a mountain. You decide, okay, what are the things I need? How do I do? Which mountain do I go for? And get things sorted. Then you plan a production. Okay, when am I gonna go there? What am I gonna shoot? What are the things I have to shoot? Your final production and your distribution. It can be in any sort of vertical, horizontal. That's, I think, any sort of a visual creation process. But somewhere down the line, when you go there, at every given stage, there are disorientations where things kind of don't work out. Sometimes you have a very core idea, but by the time it reaches pre-production, there are changes happening. By the time you reach production, there can be many constraints. Then post-production and your final distribution. Is your final idea in sync with the final vision that you have made? That is somewhere we want to introduce ourselves with our virtual production service. And this is just a generic market overview. The global virtual production market. Sometimes people think that virtual production started with the Mandalorian. I would say no, it's not like it has started with the Mandalorian. It has evolved with that particular show. It has been in the market since early on. However, before pandemic, it did start to grow up, and then when the pandemic finally stuck, people were in the evolving process of doing R&D and testing the world of virtual production. And you might also see a decline in the overall market size between 2020 and 2022. It's very simple. There are two kinds of people, one who kind of conquer the change and the ones who resist the change. So there was a resistance as well. But however, as things evolved, as more and more people got to know about what the world of virtual production is, how it's evolving, it has again started to grow up. At the moment, as we see, in because I come from a finance degree, I think I should be mentioning it. It's the compounded annual growth rate for virtual production is above 17%, which kind of shows that it is going to be a boom market in the coming years, as well as the entire XR space, which comprises of your AR, MR, VR, everything it would be over $100 billion industry. So I personally feel that virtual production, economics wise, does make sense, and going ahead, it could solve a lot of problems. So these shots, for whoever's watching, is traditionally how we shoot in a chroma setup. So when you're shooting it, you are not aware how the final output is going to look like. A director has a vision. Director communicates to the DOP the world he would want to build, and you would just do a traditional shoot. This is how generally we are shooting in a traditional backdrop with a simple chroma set over here. We don't know how the output's going to look like, if the lighting has matched, if things have come in, what is the overall world that we have built doing justice to the character build. That's precisely where we separate ourselves and introduce what we do in the realm of virtual production. As you see, first is your chroma output. And for people who are very new, I would say chroma is basically the green backdrop that you see. Now that you have a chroma backdrop with you, on a display, it can be any display or a director monitor or a TV, you could see a live comp. Live comp is basically a merger between your virtual world and your physical character. Now, the step of reaching from chroma to live comp itself has been a revolutionary, where you could actually see what has happened. Taking a step ahead, now that you have your live comp with you, you know what the environment is, you know what the backdrop is. You could then send it for post production, get your colors and things sorted, change the environment a bit if you want, and get your final output. This is essentially how it has evolved. Now, what are the advantages of the way it has evolved is over here mentioned. Okay, before I go ahead, this might seem little technical, but I would also want to try and explain this, because I feel TechViz has become such a handy tool for our team as well as across all the global efforts where people have put in to do a virtual production shoot. Now, imagine this. If you can see the first shot and the lady on the beside, the final shot, we actually could block the kind of shot we want, the lenses before we shoot, the exact framing, and then try to replicate it on the day of the shoot. So what TechViz also does, it exactly tells you what your camera to character measurement is, your camera to ground distance, your physical light requirement, and all the tech needed. To simplify it, whenever I have visualized a shot in Unreal, how do I reciprocate that on the day of the shoot? That is where TechViz is a great help. It tells you everything. So on the day of the shoot, you exactly know where my camera is supposed to be, what is the exact distance to get the perfect shot, what are the lighting requirements, and if any tech is needed. For example, a particular shot is planned in gimbal, how do we execute it, or whatsoever. It kind of solves a lot of problems. So everything is pre-planned, there's no confusion, and it also helps you going to your next shot a lot quicker, because each and every shot is planned, everything that you want to do is decided, you just have to simply go and execute it, and it has done wonders definitely. Now, these are the benefits of virtual production, and I would like to take you through one by one. The first one, now that you're editing with a live comp, so when you get the output on your monitor, now you can send it to any software, let it be your NLE, any sort of an NLE, let it be Resolve, Premiere, you can send it through to that. Now you can edit with the live comp. This becomes a reference cut for the post production. And when we do it, I think as soon as the director says cut, in the span of the, I think next 10 to 15 seconds, we have it, all the shots loaded in our NLE. So you could start on to editing it. You have a live edit happening with the live comp. And once this is done, you also have camera tracking. Now, as we have mentioned before with camera tracking, it's very simple. You're just telling Unreal that, hey, if I'm moving my camera left, panning it or tilting it, whatsoever I'm doing, I'm giving that data to Unreal to physically match the virtual as well as the physical movement. Then quick changes. If perhaps if I'm shooting today on a temple and later I would want to change it to something else or any sort of an environment, I could cater down to quick changes and do whatever I want to do. Perhaps, but I would not want to mess out with the lighting because that would cost a lot of post-production issues. So as long as the world building is sorted, a lot of quick changes can happen. And the most important, I feel, your director's vision fulfillment, where he could actually see the live output, see everything happening, see the live edit, make quick changes. And he's the one who sails the ship, and knowing the navigation is something which is very helpful. So it kind of fulfills the director's vision. And lighting, as I mentioned before, and the most important, you have the backdrop with you, background with you have your FG with you, and you have your camera tracking with you, and a reference live comp edit. Overall, it reduces your entire load on post-production. And the most important of all, I think in our country that all of us would relate to with efficiency and effectiveness, it's time, samay, waqt. Virtual production does help you cut down on time and ensure that each and every minute on set is well utilized towards reaching one common goal. That's what we do at Mark over here. And we just don't want to deliver fast results. We want to get it right at the speed of Mark. That's the motto that we stand by through. And we are portable. We can be anywhere in the world. We can shoot in Antarctica, probably if we just get a chroma backdrop over there, or we could shoot in Kanyakumari. That makes us portable enough to shoot anywhere, everywhere in the world. And this is something that we have kind of in-house created, conceptualized, and developed. It's called the Mach Way, where we show a process of how we can cater down to the needs of films, podcasts, content creation, music video, VR scouting, advertising, as well as product visualization. I would like to put in the link over here as well. Yeah. Should I drop in the link or should I play the video?
I think it's I think it will be better to play the video, because right now whatever we've spoken about would
Yes,
kind
yes.
of then be relatable, is what I would
Yeah.
say. So
Yeah.
basically, I just wanted to add to that, that process that you said, is that when we are on a virtual production pipeline, what happens is that we kind of work much faster, because we know exactly what is happening and how things are happening. And that's where Unreal, as well as the virtual production process, kind of revolutionizes our way of thinking. So nowadays what's happening right now is, like, as a DP working across genres and across industries, I see that people are, like, what do you say, really opening up their creativity, like, because they know it's possible. Like, in some point of time, like, before virtual production, or rather before virtual production kind of became more mainstream, it would always be okay, it's a great idea, but maybe it might not be viable logistically or cost wise or something. But nowadays, there is this change that's happening with directors and producers and, like, production companies, when some, or even like production designers or DOPs, where our, as creatives, we're like, hey, we can do this, this is possible. So I would actually hand it over to you, Sanat, to just just show our audience, like, what is actually possible. Let's go.
Yes, ma'am. Before that's just one quick question, Gautami ma'am, for you. Since you have been part of the entire virtual production drive in our country, and since at the inception and since it's been brought up in our country, what are the few changes that you have noticed in the last couple of years compared to earlier 2020? What have you seen and things that have evolved according to you?
So basically, before 2020, like, that's when, like 2019, 2020, when the pandemic kind of came.
Yeah.
Usually, what, in India, we are still, like, majorly, even now in India, we are still more on the traditional filmmaking process, because the adoption of virtual production has been a little slow. I mean, it's been globally, it's like much faster. Like every other day, I kind of get news that there's another huge studio opening which has LED and all these, all these really good virtual production facilities. In India, the adoption is much slower, like, because what happens is that to adapt to something at, at a very quick rate, we need to educate ourselves. And that's something I kind of see is a little slow in the uptake here in India. Like when I work outside India, I kind of come across much more virtual production friendly environments, I would say. The change that I'm seeing now, like, after 5 years of, like, virtual production being in, uh, being spoken about and talked about and all that stuff, I see youngsters like you, or people, or like, my colleagues and my peers, we are kind of embracing virtual production as a part of a creative process more than a technical process. That's the
Certainly.
change I've seen. Because before, like, when all this post Mandalorian, the push for virtual production happened, it was like, oh, it's all technical and this and that. But the change that I see, and that's the biggest change, and that is actually what is driving virtual production in India now, is that creatively we have accepted virtual production as a part of filmmaking. Before that, it was a little, ambiguous, yes, no, and all. But now it's like a viable thing, like, I see writers, like, some of my writer friends saying, hey, I have an idea, can it be done in virtual production? So they're already thinking about stories to be executed in virtual production. So that is a huge mindset shift that I'm seeing here in our country, and that's great news because like as students and as professionals, when we skill up, we learn more about virtual production and figure out more ways to kind of immerse ourselves into the world of virtual production. It kind of just opens up a lot of possibilities for us in terms of creativity, in terms of being tech savvy, in terms of how we want to kind of take our careers ahead and stuff like that. So it's a great time to be in India with virtual production, because virtual production in India is just taking off, I would say.
Certainly.
It's just
Uh,
kind of like getting mature in the markets outside India, but when you actually see Indian stories getting done in virtual production, it's kind of a powerhouse in the making. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's the shift that's there.
Absolutely, ma'am. And taking what you have mentioned, certainly, the one thing that I think we wanted to take forward was that virtual production is not just about a live preview. It's more than that. It's not just showing that, oh, you're getting a live output, it's done. The reason why we made the Mach Way video was to show that it is not just about the live output, it is showing how proper usage of virtual production with all the technicalities as well as the creatives can deliver a powerful output and solve so many issues, not just of pre-production production, but also in terms of effectiveness and efficiency. So we'll now play the
Hmm.
video, and if anyone has any questions, they could let us know and we could answer them. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that once we're done. Yeah.
Hello everyone. The intent behind this video is to show how we make possibilities of visuals limitless with every sort of visual content we wish to make begins with a simple idea, and then there is a structured process of reaching the goal. There's pre-production, production, post-production, and delivery. But the question is, are the final outputs in sync with the exact vision you have had? Well, that's where exactly Mach steps in. Look at the lovely Buddha right behind me. How about we change it into a haunted house?
Okay, how did I end up here? Well, it's the power of Unreal Engine. The story dictates the world you create. And in our initial stages of workflow, we ensure to do justice to the environment. Once your environments are ready, you can share it with the director, DOP, the art team, or each and everyone involved within the project. They can even come down, block the shots, as well as the camera movements. Speaking about camera movements, time to get into extreme detailing and try more creative ways to get a perfect shot. So now, you can enter the world you have created. In fact, teleport into different environments. For our first shoot, we pushed ourselves to plan each and every shot in VR. Want to frame it better? Use lenses. Right from a 12 to a focal length of 80, everything is now possible. At some points, measure everything to the micrometer. Make notes, and just like that, the art department exactly knows what is needed to blend the physical as well as the virtual elements together. You can also move objects around. With all the points mentioned above, there will be no guesswork and more clarity about what is the exact requirement a creator is looking out for. More than having a ballpark reference, we finally now have a blueprint to shoot with, and everything happening under one single roof in an extremely controlled environment, which was not the case earlier. So traditionally, you would never know how the final chroma output is going to look like. The director would just go ahead with his intuitions. The DOP would never know if the final lighting has worked, causing uncertainty to the producer, and the entire workload would shift to the process of post-production.
But that is not the case anymore. You can see the live chroma output.
You can make changes. You do not like the flags over here? Well, you cannot change it, remove it, or have a replacement of your choice. Perhaps you would want to work on the lighting and change it according to your requirement. Even more than that, I would now know where the exact position of my camera is, all thanks to TechViz. So in TechViz, we have actually created a photogrammetry of our entire virtual vault.
For example, this is the intended shot, and they exactly know what's the camera's distance from the ground, where the camera's exact positioning is, and it would help us to cater to all the shots over here, giving us utmost clarity. And after this, we have also placed markers on our studio floor where we would exactly know where to place the camera. And if you want to have a little fun when the prep goes on, okay, let's hold on for a minute. Until now, you have seen us creating live virtual environments, lens calibrated and cameras tracked. Review the output live on set and make quick changes. But you might wonder, what's happening on the system right there? Well, so now something which was not possible is absolutely possible. That is the ability to do a live edit with a live comp player, guys. So by the time you wrap up, you would exactly have a reference cut which could be shared with the post-production team, the supervisors, or anyone creatively involved as well. Back up, guys! So in our first prototype, this was the environment we built, followed by a pre-visualization of knowing what the shot and how it's going to take place, and then the one with live comp where the director could give instructions and the actor could know what's happening in the environment. In a second prototype, we wanted to play with multiple environments. Similarly, have a previs, have a live comp, and the final one with DI and everything done. Now all of this gives a huge potential in the world of virtual production.
I think this setup right behind me is one of the best indie setups I have ever seen.
I'm actually planning a little ahead what next I could do, right? With all
The frugal, resourceful innovation, you can see that right happening behind me.
The entire intent behind this video is to show a new wave of cutting-edge tech mixed with fundamentals of every thought, storytelling. We take pride to tell that we are fully portable and ready to commit and cater our services to your city. You may be in the realm of content creation, advertising, filmmaking, let alone industrial visualization. If visuals of vision excite you, then we are committed towards providing the best results at the speed of...
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So basically, to all our viewers, that is basically what ICV effects with chroma looks like. So that's Sanat Studio and the way he works. What I would quickly like to do is that I would like to show everyone how easy it is to work with Unreal. So let me kind of switch over to my workstation here, and maybe we can quickly do like a simple shot, like a one shot, like place the camera, place the actor, and see how we can kind of make it look cinematic. Uh, I would just say that if you guys are beginning and that you don't have any Unreal knowledge, don't worry. Unreal is really simple to learn and to use. So why don't we just kind of shift to our screen, my work screen. Yeah, so that's my workstation here. And what I would like to create is a simple shot. If you see that, I've just placed a mannequin here and it's an environment that I have kind of taken. So I would just start the process and keep explaining to you guys what exactly I'm doing over here to create a simple shot. So let's say this is the output that I have. Like, I just want to see that this person is over here in Unreal. They're just looking like, this somewhere here is like a balcony or something like that. And probably we could have like a slightly wider shot and then come closer to our character who's standing here. So let's start the process. Okay. So the first thing I want to show is that this is your Unreal interface. Right now we're on 5.3, but 5.6 is already in production, and in production, proper productions, we use 5.6. So usually what I do is that I kind of, before I go into, let's say, a shoot or like, something, I like to pre-visualize my shots. So what I'm right now doing is that, let's say I have a shot of, a very simple shot of somebody standing in a very cyberpunk sort of environment, and I am kind of like just a very pensive, that maybe that person is just thinking. And what I do basically is that these are characters called mannequins in Unreal. So I place the mannequin in place of where I think the actor should be standing, And then I kind of do like, a little bit of environment lighting or a little bit of, camera movements, kind of show that this is the way I'm looking at the shot as a DP. And once I create the shot, then I share it with director and say, hey, what is your like, what's your feedback on this? So let's create a very simple shot of somebody standing here, uh, over here, and kind of we kind of have a really close, like slow zoom that's happening in a way that you could imagine that there is a voiceover happening over here. Okay, so basically, if you see this environment, let me just show it to you. Let me just like go really up and really back, and it's like a really big environment. So basically, if you see me like working in Unreal, don't worry about it. There are a lot of things that when you start learning Unreal or you're in the process of learning Unreal, you'll come to know. But my intention here is basically to show you how to build a simple shot that looks cinematic. All right. So basically, if you see, this is an environment that has already been made. This is an environment that's already been made. It is one of the free environments that used to be in the Unreal Engine marketplace. So suppose like if I want to like if the environment of my story is still being made, I usually kind of like look in the entire library of Fab or any other marketplace where you could get environments like 3D environments and see what's the closest to what's written in the script. And I would usually kind of download it and put it on Unreal, and then I would kind of like see okay, which are the best angles that I can find. Like like if I go into this alley and I kind of go down and I see okay, what are the interesting places? Like, can I place this person here? Like you can see there is another mannequin over here that I have placed. Can I place this person here? Can I see if it's like cinematic enough? Maybe I could like place a camera over here. So in Unreal, you can actually like exactly the way you would do in live in your real life, you could actually do exactly the same thing in Unreal, which is why Unreal is extremely powerful. So right now we'll just kind of just do a very simple shot. So this is basically my thought process when I'm kind of creating a previs or a pre-previs sort of a thing. So basically, I have placed a camera here, and you can see that this is the camera that's there. If I zoom out, you can actually see the camera that's placed here. Now, if I click on the camera, you can see over here in the details panel that there are a lot of different parameters for it. So let's say that I am shooting this on, let's say, a 35 camera. So I have different 35 camera options. Like suppose I'm shooting on a 35 ARRI camera, then I would like say okay, fine, this is a super 35 so I would choose that. And you can see this the what do you say, viewport of the camera over here kind of changed. And if I want to kind of have really customized aspect ratio, let's say my aspect ratio is 24:18. If I say I want to have a 2:1 aspect ratio, which is basically aspect ratio is the width of the screen divided by the height will give you an aspect ratio. And that's how we kind of determine which how things are played. Like you might hear words like cinema scope, or you might hear words like 185, or you might hear words like universal aspect ratio. So right now what we're doing is that we're trying to do things in universal aspect ratio, which is 2:1 ratio. So you see the width over here is 24. What I would want to do is I want to change it to 12 And you see that over here it's already become like a little cinematic. Like this is the aspect ratio that Netflix has. Like most OTT content is shot in 2:1. So we're already in a space that it kind of looks a little cinematic sort of a thing. So let's kind of pivot the camera. And I can always see what happens over here is that let's say I choose this, and you see what happens. If I choose a different, what do you say, option here, you see what happens. So let's go back to our option of Super 35. And you can see that this has changed again. So I want to now make it, a little more cinematic. So I say I will change the height of the sensor. And here we are. And obviously in real life we focus on our actors and stuff like that. So what I would do is that I would want to kind of first see how this works and then focus on them. So now I'm a really ultra wide lens. I don't need so much such wide lens. So I can actually change my lens and like my focal length just the way I would like put a new lens on the camera. I can literally do the same thing over here just by changing a few numbers. It's that simple. So let's say I don't want it to be so wide. Let's say maybe we could probably get a closer shot, which is somewhere here. And this kind of looks a little cinematic, but of course the focus and all is off. So let's move the camera to a space where it kind of looks nice. And we'll probably reduce the camera speed so it doesn't keep hovering around somewhere so much. And let's probably go closer to this person. And so just the way I would kind of, move my camera in real life on a set, I can do exactly the same thing in Unreal Engine. So once I have this, sorry, what happened? Okay. So you'll have to be a little careful sometimes. Sometimes things. Okay. So basically, what we could do is that now that we have some sort of a shot here, we could go into our camera details again and say that, hey, I want to track this particular mannequin. So I could say there is a function where it automatically tracks whatever I say to track. So for example, this mannequin's name is Quinn, and she's probably the third one. And you see it's completely in focus. Now I can move the camera wherever I want, and I will still have Quinn in focus. And you'll see that, most of these things are quite, out of focus, which is exactly what would happen in real life. So now let's say I'm not too convinced about this. I want to kind of see some other angle that I have. So I kind of come out of it and I kind of explore a little bit, maybe, see what's happening this side. This side looks just like, very uninteresting. So maybe we could just go and see something that's here. And maybe I have, kind of put a mannequin here just to check if this area is nice. So probably I'll go and see if I could, see through this particular camera and see if this kind of works. Maybe I could like, do something like this. And maybe if I could remove all that, then you could actually see that maybe this looks a little more cinematic or a little more interesting than that particular frame, because what it does is that it gives me a lot of depth. So basically Unreal Engine is just not like a gaming engine or like something to just like what do you say, quick and easy stuff. It's also about ideation, about previous kind of like really honing your visual skills. So that's also one of the places where Unreal Engine is very important in terms of learning stuff. So let's say I prefer something like this, like if I didn't have a camera here, I prefer something like this. So maybe I prefer this angle over here. And maybe if I move out, you might see the camera here. So let's say I like this position of the person. I'm going to delete this camera now. And let's say I'm going to put a new camera here. So I'll go closer to the person I want to kind of frame. And then I could just tell Unreal to place a camera here. Like you had seen in Sanat's video that he had shown that he had marked specific places in his studio where the camera is supposed to be. So those places are actually first determined here in Unreal Engine. Like this is where I want my character to stand. And then I go to the physical studio, put Unreal Engine onto the backdrop, place a person there and say, okay, like the mannequin was standing in this position, the person is here. And so I'm going to place my camera here. So camera placements and like, positioning of your actors and everything is first determined in Unreal Engine. So let's say I like it here. I place a camera here and you can see the camera is already here, like, over here. So now let's say I want super 35 mm. I would want to have a 2:1 ratio. And maybe I think this is too wide. So maybe I go 24 mm. And you see it's already kind of looking a little better, more cinematic. And I would say if I want to track a certain person, I would just say track this actor. That's yeah. So right now, if you see, let's just go into the preview. Right now, if you see, this is this particular mannequin is slightly out of focus, and this mannequin is in focus. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just change the focus of this camera to this particular camera, and you see that it is like now she is in focus. Suppose I don't want it to like, I don't want to see so much of the background being in focus. What I can actually do here is that either I can change the film back, like make it more, let's say, an IMAX sort of a thing. Then again, go back, change the aspect ratio to make it a little more cinematic. Then I could like literally, instead of a 24, I'd probably use, because IMAX is such a wide format, I'd probably use double the thing. So it's almost here, and maybe I want to kind of go a little further, a little closer to this person. So I could like, probably, let's say instead of 50 mm, I think might work. You could just try a lot of iterations over here. So let's say I would think maybe 85 mm would look nice. So I can literally, so this is kind of okay, like, this looks nice. I could like probably lower the camera a little, frame it nicely. So exactly the way I have different focal lengths of my lenses in real life. Let's say I have a set of lenses which has, you could say it's a wide angle lens and it's a 12 mm lens, or it's a telephoto lens and it's an 85 mm lens. If I put the same numbers in the current focal length over here, it gives me a very good approximation of how my shot would look. So let's say I quite like this particular shot, and I would like to start from here, or maybe I would like to start a little wider. Let's say at 50 mm. We're a little wider. Let's say this person is standing over here. And what we'll do is we'll do a slow zoom in to the person, so that, maybe it's like, this person is thinking little something in the rain, they're just getting wet and stuff like that. So let's start the process of animating the camera. Okay. So what we could do is that there's something called sequencer in Unreal Engine, and basically that works as a timeline to animate your visual, basically. So what we would do is that we would actually add the character as well as the particular camera into the sequencer, and then we can animate them. Right now I'm just doing keyframe animation, so that it's kind of simpler to do over here. Like, we could, like, Unreal Engine has the capacity to, like, take in mocap data real time and all those, like, really more advanced things, but this is like a very simple shot that we're preparing. So I would first say that I select my actor and I would add my actor here. So you could see that, a whole lot of gadgets have opened. I'm not going to use any of that. So I'll just simply just close that. And what I'm going to do is that I'm also going to remove this particular control rig. I'm going to delete that. And what I'm going to do is that I'm basically going to put in an animation track here, which would be, let's say, idle. And you see that entire thing, like, now this person is standing in that idle position. And it's on the timeline. So if I move away from the timeline, this person will come back into that A pose. So over here, if you see, I can extend the time I want this person to be in this pose. So basically from 0 seconds to 5 seconds, this person is standing like this and thinking about something. Now what I do is that I come and I add the camera to it. Okay. Let's say Cine camera. Which one are we there for, right? Yeah, so now I have added the camera. Now you can see something called camera cuts. Now, camera cuts is basically, a track on the timeline that shows you exactly what the camera is seeing. All right. So basically, right now, I would say that this is what my camera is seeing. And I would want to start to animate the camera. If you see that, there are a lot of camera components over here, and you can see that I can add certain keyframes over here. What I could do is that first I will position my actor. So we go to Quinn and we say transform, and I want this person to be standing exactly in the same position throughout my shot. So I say, okay, 0. And if you see over here, the timeline, the keyframes are here. And if I say 5, I say I want 5 seconds. And I can go and again just, do a keyframe here. And this person is going to be here throughout the shot. It's not going to move. Now, what I can do is here is kind of go and to my camera component and say, okay, I don't want this shot to be like, a very, I don't want to have too much focus in this shot because it's like going to, it's going to end up in a close-up. So I could actually animate my aperture. Camera aperture is basically what allows light into the camera and also kind of determines the amount of focus in the picture. So let's say I don't want it to be so in focus. So I would probably reduce the strength of the aperture. Now you can see that this person is completely in focus. Like I don't have too much attention on a lot of other things. Now what I could do is that I could keyframe the focus as well over here. And plus, let's say I want to start from 50 mm, and I would want to go much closer to this person. Now, if you see over here, it says focus distance minimum, which means I have to now track this person. I will go to my focus settings. I will say tracking, and I will say, Quinn, and I would just make it a little sharper. So now she's pretty sharp in the environment. Now what we do is that we kind of can go to our transform of the camera. Again, transform is basically, how where the camera is in the scene. So what I would do is that I would go to transform and say, okay, hey, I don't want the camera to move. I just want it to be in one place, and I'm just going to do a little zoom in, just the way I would do it in real life, like like a little zoom, close zoom. And I would also say that at 5 minutes, if you see my keyframes have come, now I go back to 0. And I also again put the transform here just to make sure that my camera is in the correct position. It doesn't move. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, we're at 0 here. And now that the timeline is here, now kind of put the, okay. So now what we're going to do is that we're not going to just animate just one focal length, which is from 50 at 0. So we kind of put a keyframe here. And we can actually do this. And let's say at, sorry, my bad. Something happened over here. Okay. So basically what we're going to do is that we've said at 50 over here is correct. Now what I want to do is that I want to go here and I want to just, let's say, just delete this keyframe. And at 5 seconds over here, I want this to be, let's say, 100, which is pretty close. And you see it has already come here. Now basically, if you see the frame is a little unbalanced. So we're going to basically balance the frame again. So what we're going to do is that at 5 seconds, for the camera, we're going to go into the rotation and into the rotation of it. Okay, so basically we can do it by numbers mathematically or by moving the camera. So what you do is that you make this keyframe active. Let's say the z-axis active, and maybe I want to kind of move the z-axis. Okay, this is 0. So what we do is maybe it was a minus 64 and it's back. So maybe I want it to be, let's say, minus 40. Let's see what happens. No, it doesn't work. It's gone to the right. So we can go back again and say minus 70. Okay, too much to the left. Maybe we could do a minus 68. and see what happens. Much better. Minus 66. Yeah. So basically, I would like to place the actor here, which is in line with the rule of thirds, which is a photography rule. Is that, when you have a scene or somebody, an actor, which is like, in the scene, you need to leave a lot of space uh, in the direction that they're looking, and you should put them on the thirds of the of the frame. So this is where it is. Now I just want to probably just raise the height a bit. I don't want to cut the head of this person. So I go to my y-axis and say maybe I don't want a 1.8. Maybe I want a minus 1.7 maybe. Let's see what goes on. It's going a little up, right? So now maybe I don't want it that much. Maybe I say I want it, let's say just at -1, and I say enter. And you see, it's much better right now. And maybe what we could do is that we can probably go much closer to her. So let's go to the focal length over here, which is again over here. Let's make it active. And let's say I want to go much closer to this person. So I kind of make it, let's say maybe 150, which is a very, very tele lens. And over here we can probably, just move our camera a little bit and then just see how it works. Yeah, so we can probably do this over here. Let's just see quickly what is like the first draft of it. So we can go to the beginning of the thing and you see it's a white. And let me play the timeline and you see the camera is kind of just going over here. Okay, so basically right now what we do is that we come back, we don't put a 150, let's just put 100. And maybe this is also enough. So let's just say I play this and you can actually see, like, you can actually imagine that your actor is actually sitting here and like, standing over here and kind of thinking. And like, the way I'm looking at, okay, is this the correct way to do it? Is it a different way to do it? So this is one of the iterations in the, previous process. So let's just play this once again and see if this works. Yeah. So you see, it's that easy. Within like 10 minutes, we kind of had a shot ready. So it's that easy to use Unreal. So now basically what I would like to talk about is that, which is probably, one of the things is now that the entire AI boom is happening, I would just like to say that, guys, don't be afraid of AI. AI is just a tool in your skill set. So I would say that learn Unreal, learn all the, different skill sets that you need to learn, and AI is just a part of your skill set. So basically, if you know how to use AI in your in your, what do you say, daily work, it's just a tool set that kind of makes it very easy for you to do your work. It's like much faster. Like I use AI all the time. Yes, I mean, like, I do have some sort of thoughts. Oh, is AI like, is AI going to take over my job? But then you realize that, AI to take over my job will take a lot of years, because humans are still more advanced than AI. So I would just say use AI as a part of his tool set and don't be afraid to kind of like, experiment with it. Cool. So now I would just like to present again, and I would just stop sharing this. I would actually want to talk a little more about, let's say, sorry, my bad. I would actually want to talk about the careers in virtual production. Like when you if you guys are getting into Unreal and all that stuff, where does it actually land? Like, what are the things that you can actually do, or what are the job roles in virtual production? So let's have a look at that. Okay. So basically, this is a very concise slide just to show the various roles that you would, have in virtual production. Just the way we have different roles in animation or in gaming and stuff like that, we also have different roles in virtual production. So one of the things on the on the right side, you can actually see what is the VP role, what is the traditional role, and how you can transfer from a traditional role into a virtual production role. So these are a few different skill sets and job descriptions that you would you can actually make careers in, depending on what you like and not like. So and basically, if you guys ever get to get on a set, you'll probably see a lot of us who are in the traditional filmmaking roles are still there for virtual production. So virtual production is, again, it's revolutionary, but you can always use your skill sets or learn new skills to have jobs in virtual production, that sort of a thing. So I'm going to basically again stop sharing, and I would actually like to invite somebody very important from Framebox to kind of sign off this webinar. I hope you guys have got a lot of information on what exactly virtual production is, like an overview of what it is, and hopefully we come back with more informative webinars for you. Yeah, so I would like to invite Mr. Kalpesh from Framebox to join us and kind of address the students or our viewers. Yeah. Vihan, you're on mute.
Just to give you a background,
Yeah.
Kalpesh is our Vice President for Technical Division, and we'll welcome him to enlighten us with some message. So, good evening, Kalpesh sir, and welcome to the seminar.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, am I audible, guys?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed the session. It was really very, very insightful. Thanks so much, Gautami and Sanat, for taking out your time from the busy schedule and sharing your knowledge on virtual production and how Unreal is playing an essential part in the pipeline. Okay, I would like to share with everyone that soon we are planning something really great for all the students. Well, right now I'm not announcing it, but in the coming days we'll be doing this announcement all across the centers. So I would like to say that stay tuned till then. There'll be an announcement which we'll share with everybody across all the centers. Thanks once again, Gautami and Sanat, for providing your valuable insight in today's session. Thank you all for watching this webinar and see you all in the next one.
Thank you so much, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope all our viewers had a information informative webinar, and thank you so much for being with us.
One last thing. Vihang, if you want to take any questions. Is there any questions?
You're on mute, Vihan.
So basically, we have a question that will AI affect Unreal and virtual production?
So right now, if you see, AI is getting incorporated into Unreal Engine and virtual production. It is one of the many tools that we use to speed up processes, make creativity more expansive. It is being used, extensively in the pre-production and post-production stages. We are we're still exploring how to use it in your production stage. As I said, AI is just a tool, all right? So just the way Unreal Engine is a tool, a very vital tool in your skill set, the same way AI is also a vital tool in your skill set. And if you learn both of them, then you're basically unstoppable in today's world. And exactly what we are also doing as professionals, like both Sanat and I, we're also upskilling in in AI filmmaking. Like Like very soon, I will also I will also be hopefully say, hey, I can be a DP of AI films. So it's everything is a continuous process of learning, and the faster you learn them, and if you're an early adopter of AI, you actually have an edge over everybody else in the industry who are like the slower adopters. So I would say AI and Unreal and any of your skill sets that you're learning, they're all complementary. They're all parts of a whole. So don't be afraid of AI. AI may take away some jobs, but it'll also create new jobs. Literally, like if tomorrow I can no longer be a DP because AI is doing my job, I can literally say, hey, let me analyze what AI is doing and teach AI to be a better DP that I can. So there is already a job for me. So don't worry about that. Always just upskill faster, or be an early adopter, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Sanath, why don't you just give your note on that?
Yeah, I also firmly believe on the same map that whatever is being inculcated, like every now and then, every second day, we hear about a new tool, a new method, a new kind of an LLM coming in. But it's also the fact that it could also be a companion in a lot of ways. I know we talk about the job market or whatsoever that it might take certain jobs. At the same time, it will also create jobs and it will also help you in your jobs. We're not here to pick out any sides, but definitely we do see a role of AI which could be involved in the production pipeline. It could help down cutting your costs, cutting down your time and everything, but it should be used in a judicious and resourceful way to benefit the masses among us. That's what I believe in.
Brilliant answer. And this was the question we have. I think you have answered it. So thanks for this session, Gautami ma'am, Sanat sir, and Kalpesh sir for enlightening us with all the information. And to all our subscribers and users and audiences and students, subscribe if you have not subscribed. Click the notification so you can get regular updates on this kind of webinars. So thank you everyone for this seminar, and hopefully we will meet together for the next event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Rehan.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Sanat
much.
and Gautami once again. Bye.
You guys. Bye bye.